Hi, I am going to use this opportunity to write. The idea is that hopefully I will be productive by filming my work. You're basically my imaginary audience, my imaginary teammate, accountability partner. So I'll share my whole screen if I can figure out how. Cool. I think that should be working. And yeah, gonna write some atomic essays today. See how many we can do. Might set 10-minute timers. I think that sounds like a good idea. So come here. Phone on silent. Ten minutes, awesome. Let's have a look. I don't know what I'm going to write. Haven't decided yet. Some of them might already be a little bit written. All right, let's go. What happens if they're not okay? Try for a small example from my life. Look at a paragraph. Let's just highlight that first part. Listen to your body. Not much commentary going on. Sorry about that. I'm concentrating a little. About 5 minutes left. Hold space. Awesome. Boom. Bang. Smash. I'm going for a little bit of the 1, 2, 1. I'm often trying to do that sort of 1, 2, 1 kind of thing. I could simplify this a little bit more. Presence is when you can let your curiosity. So I get rid of can. Presence is when you let your curiosity. So I can get rid of when you. Presence is letting your curiosity and attention span stay completely focused on what they're saying, not what you're thinking or feeling. And notice that little process of eliminating those extra syllables there. Makes it much more readable. So this isn't can be it's not. Just a smaller way of saying the same thing. It's not the same as dismissing your emotions. Pressing. So I don't know what short, tiny words are going to do for that, but that'll do. Yeah. Spelling's off a bit. So I like Notion, but it doesn't have its own native spell check, which kind of sucks, but that's fine. It's more like acknowledging what's happening. So I really don't like how that reads for us, and having faith that we'll process and deal with that stuff in the times around. Well, edit that soon. Know where you can refer people. So probably no referrals. Know your referrals. Cool. Oh my God, what a nightmare. I'm disconnecting that from the fucking audio. Oh, wow, sorry about that. Maybe I'll try and mute that out or something. Make you deaf if you listen here with headphones. Know your referrals. If you want to open up, oh, well, that's 10 minutes. So that was 10 minutes. So you can see how if I had not stopped to edit a little bit in here, I would have probably written another thing, right? I would have probably written another like sort of paragraph type of deal. I'm going to leave that one there. That's fine. Fuck it. Let's start again, hey? How about worst possible suicide support? Oh, they're already written. Holy shit. Okay, that's crazy. Worst possible suicide support. They're already ready to go. Damn. The only thing I guess I could do is edit them. So I like to do these little 10-minute blocks of time because it really forces you. Constraints improve you. I'm a deep believer in if you want to improve a craft, if you want to improve a skill set, then give yourself constraints. Intermediate reframing, positive last. Yeah, let's work on this one. So I'm giving myself these 10-minute timers because it just forces me to take action and just like focus, you know, like just none of this, right? No tabs open. So intermediate reframing, put the positive last for a good last impression. Okay, so this part is probably fine, right? Mid-level. Mid-level reframe, low-level reframe, high-level reframe. Cool. So I reckon that gives me an idea that in the future, I'm going to do low-level, right? Or like difficulty plus micro skill, right? So for those of you who don't know, it's probably nobody even watching this, but for those of you who don't know, I am in the suicide support kind of space. That's my, specialty. And yeah, I'm just trying to put out as much content as I can so that I can basically change the world and just make the world a more safe place for people who are suicidal and for people who don't feel heard by counselors, loved ones, support, nurses, police, everybody, basically. I figure if I can help increase the communication skills of everyone in the game, then we'll have less people killing themselves. I'm going to reset this because I've just been talking the whole time. Cool. So 10 minutes starting now. Let's have a look at this. So I don't like any of this so far. This is shit. So rather than trying to even deal with how shit all of this is, I'm just going to take it all, dump it over here, minimize it, out of the way. Now it's not going to count towards the word count on Notion. So to start off with, I always do headers. Now, since this is just 10 minutes on the front of an empty post, I'll try just to focus on the headers. If I can do that in this 10-minute task, don't need to fill out any writing. Even if just get the headers out, that's a successful 10 minutes, right? So intermediate listening skills, let's change that. Put the positive last for a good last impression. Put the good last. Put the good part last. Put the good part last. Put good parts last for a good last impression. Good last impressions. Put the good parts last. Put good parts last for good last impressions. All right, so now that's a bit of an awful mouthful, but I think it feels better than it was before, so let's go with that. Put good parts last for good last impressions. Mid-level reframes. Cool, so I'll add that, and then that way it's kind of identifies whatever. So what are we even trying to say? Trying to say that when you reflect, taking in the bad, you can reflect it accurately and positively. That's kind of what we're trying to say here. 8 minutes left, so let's give an example. Bold examples, just like that would be fine. And then taking in the bad, you can reflect it accurately and positively. So what you hear, so the examples will come with two kind of things, is X into Y. I am so overwhelmed. Becomes you've had so much going on. Struggling to cope. Okay, so struggling to cope. We're referring to coping here, right? So if someone says, I feel like there's just no hope, it can become it's all dark. So the point you reached out. So we're still acknowledging, these examples are pretty shit. I'm not gonna lie, these examples are pretty shit, but we're acknowledging. So I'm not even doing this for your sake, by the way. I'm actually writing all of this shit out and trying to talk myself through the process. What is it that I'm trying to teach here? What is it that I'm trying to, so by actually getting it out loud and by doing it on the thing, that's what's going to help me come up with better examples. That's what's going to help me pin down the idea that I'm actually trying to nail. Because it's kind of wishy-washy right now. All I've got to go on is this, right? Good, put the good parts last for good last impressions, mid-level reframe. So I'm trying to reframe something negative that someone gives us into not necessarily a toxic positive kind of vibe, but just look at the other side of it, right? Everything has two sides, including the miserable, including the hopeless, including the abyss. Toxic positivity doesn't help, but you can turn something slightly more positive. If you, what do I, close the gap. You want to close the gap between where they're at, the level of perception that where they're at with the message that you have. You're going to want, you want to put that message closer to where they are. If your perspective is too far of a logical leap for them, close the gap. So now in this one, what we want to write, if your perspective is too far for them, if your perspective is too far for them, close the gap. Sometimes when we talk with someone, we try to share what we see of the situation, and it gets shut down. In this case, sometimes when I talk with someone, try and use I because it's just easier to position myself. Sometimes when I talk with someone, I try to share what I see of the situation, and it gets shut down completely. This always comes back down to my perception of their perspective. If I'm seeing something from too positive or too hopeful of a point of view, I am a raging optimist. And it might be really hard for them to accept. In this case, it's up to me to bring the points I want to make into their vision. Increase the empath. Yeah, simple as that. Now so this is what I mean. So it's like 1, 3, 1 or something like that, you know, in terms of just full stops. Now for this, I want to write another to close out this section, right? So this is something that I learned from Dickie Cole. What I could do, sorry, from Nick Cole. What I could do is just that. So it's just 2 and then 1. But it doesn't really, that's not the vibe. I do want this whole thing to be a lot better written, but that's fine. And now, cool. So good parts, put good parts last for good last impressions. For better last impressions. Put good parts last for better last impressions. For good last impressions, make good last impressions. Leave good last impressions. Put good parts last to leave. Now I'm just getting facetious. Put good parts last to leave good last impressions. Say that 10 times fast. That's really dumb. I like it for now. I'm going to go with it. If your perspective is too far for them, close the gap. Toxic positivity. Oh, 10 minutes. Cool. All right. So that was 10 minutes on this one. So that's 10 minutes on 2 different ones. And you can see how if you do that regularly, just by spending 10 minutes on that, spend 10 minutes on that, whatever, then what happens is eventually you just really wind up with a whole lot of ideas written. You know, so this is the last month I've been doing this. I've got 28 here. I think one of them might be, I don't know, the order of them is kind of confusing to me. I might just try and sort them by published date, descending. Most recent at the top, cool. Save for everyone. So as you can see, I just organized. That was really, if you're not familiar with Notion, it's super powerful. So yeah, so this is 27 that I've done over the past. Yeah, I've done 27 because one of them is not a atomic essay. I've done 27 over the past 28 days. Pretty cool. I think I started writing them a little bit early. I think I started writing them about a week early, so that way I could take a week off, which is what I've just done. So I'm coming out the back of that, and I'm using this whole, you know, I'm just going to film these. I hope that they're helpful. I'm going to film these shitty webinar type, whatever you want to call it, Zoom meeting things, one-player Zoom meetings. And I'm going to write these in public. So I'm kind of hoping to empower other people who want to write, who want to put their ideas out there, and I guess for me, the reason why I have gotten so much out of writing and why I'm hoping to inspire others to do the same is because, well, I want more friends, I guess. That would be cool to be able to understand and relate to what it's like and what I'm going through. But you get to scale your impact with just time, right? So I don't have labor, I don't have people who are willing to like do stuff that I think would be good to change the world. I don't have much money to just pay people to do stuff to change the world. I don't know how to code. I don't know how to write programming or anything like that. So that would also be a really great way to make an impact, is to solve problems using code, because then I could just make one thing and everyone could use it, kind of thing. But I can write, and so can you. So all it cost me is time, as you saw. All it cost me is time and putting the emotional investment in on the front end in the early days of sitting down, going through the discomfort of like actually being there with my thoughts as I slowly undress them on the page and get to watch myself flounder and struggle. But that, obviously I've done enough that now I can skip a lot of that. And you can too, with just some really simple techniques, basically. It's just a skill set like any other. Same thing with suicide, same thing with listening to suicide. If you want to relieve people's distress, if you want to improve your listening skills, then yeah, it's really just a matter of knowing the right thing to practice, knowing the right way to practice. That works for you. It's probably going to be different for everyone to a degree, but yeah. Cool. Well, I hope that was helpful to somebody one day. And even if nobody ever sees it, this is a big part of my whole philosophy of the writing process and everything. Even if nobody in the world ever watches this stuff, that is a-okay, because I learned a whole bunch about hitting record, about, for example, it was only halfway through the first one that I was like, oh, maybe I should be talking, right? So I made all these little incremental gains in presentation, and I'm going to get a lot better at it as well over time. So see, now I'm using my hands, stuff like that. But I made all these little incremental gains, and then the next time that I have a handful of hours that I can sit down and write, I'm going to do this again, and I'll just film it again, and I'll film the whole process of like how I'm writing all of this stuff, and I'll throw that out there, and I'll do the work in public, like one of my favorite authors, Austin Kleon, is always talking about. And yeah, hopefully it's just going to help somebody out there to inspire you to just fucking make the world better, man. We're breaking the world. Don't you want to repair it? So yeah. Thanks for watching. I'm Saeed. This is Said with Courage, is where I'm going to upload this. And yeah, see you around.